And the truest junkies of all are checking out this segment. It is the World Wide Web only segment, testosteronesports.com. Jesse, pleased to be back for the final set of matchups here with Zach and Jeff. Guys, we like to do the show, but what are you doing, man?
This is the web-only version of our show, so we take a little loose approach.
Effing right.
We'd like to thank you guys for dropping everything that you got going on and logging on to testosteronesports.com. While you're here, take a chance to vote on the poll. Come check out our writer pages, read an article or two, watch some other videos, read the news. You can come see if we're on the chat. Come talk to us, say hello.
And if you're a real TFS junkie, make us your homepage. That way, every time you turn on your computer, this page will pop up. You can navigate from there to wherever else on the web you need to go. But it really helps us out with the hit meter. I mean, if you're digging on our site, you come onto the chat on a regular basis. Make the sacrifice. Take one for the team. Make us your homepage.
And really quickly, just for the online viewers, I definitely want to give a shout out to the Fantasy Sports girls. You girls look awesome on YouTube. I love watching you.
Who are these fantasy
as much as I possibly can. And ladies, I'm single, so send me an email, jeff@testosteronesports.com. So let's talk about
I don't know if those girls are smart enough to know how to work a computer.
I mean, I don't even know if those girls are real. But no matter what, we got much love for any hotties who come on and talk about fantasy sports. Honestly, that's a dream for me is to have a lady, who I can talk strategy with, who might beat my ass in a given week. And then next we got fantasy football too.
Nice. Well, what we're here for this segment for actually is to talk about the 5 matchups, or on some weeks it's only 4 matchups, but this week it's 5 matchups. The matchups that don't have quite as much luster as the normal matchups do that we run on the show that airs on MCN6, but fantasy owners know that every matchup matters in fantasy football, right, Zach?
You saying Tennessee-Baltimore isn't a high-profile game?
Yeah, it's not really a high-profile game, but we will start with Tennessee against Baltimore. These two teams' defensive struggle tends to be the first thing that comes to mind. Tennessee ranks number 5 in the league in total defense. The Ravens locking down the top spot with the number 1. You can't think that there's very many points to be scored in this one, Zach.
Fantasy-wise, it might be hard-pressed to find any fantasy points. Maybe Chris Johnson, just because he has the ability to break the big play, and he might find a seam and take it to the house.
Right.
Other than that, you're going to get probably a low-scoring game. I'm guessing if both teams get double digits, I'll be surprised.
Right. And Lindell White's a lock for like 12 scores this year, so realistically, during the bye weeks, he's not a bad filler-in guy. You could play him. He's going to have about 40 yards. He's pretty much a lock to get in the end zone, though, even against a tough Baltimore defense. He's got that extra padding for a reason. His style reminds me of that Charmin commercial where the little boy is playing football and he comes back all bruised, and then he goes inside and stuffs his shirt full of Charmin. And then he looked just like Lindell White. So Lindell White, with all that extra puff that he's got, he's going to be able to get into the end zone.
Yeah, and some of the players on the Baltimore D this week have been calling Lindell fat in the.
Have you seen his touchdown dance? It's disgusting.
What
does he eat a bunch of ho-hos or something?
It's the truffle shuffle, right? So I did that when I was a kid, but that was a long time ago. So as far as Baltimore goes, we've got to talk about Willis McGahee. Poked in the eye a couple weeks back, has I believe it's a rib injury or a shoulder injury that's nagging him right now. He may or may not play in this game. He's not a very good start against Tennessee. We've got to talk about LeRon McClain. Jeff, you touched on him in the final segment of the show that aired on TV. This guy has scored more fantasy points, more than double the fantasy points as Lindell White through the first 3 weeks.
And I like LeRon McClain. He kind of embodies the whole mentality that the Ravens have. Their smash mouth style. They've all got attitudes.
Right.
I mean, their defense is led by a guy who had to beat a murder rap. So you better be tough if you're going to tote the rock in that town. Willis McGahee ain't tough. In fact, I think he's a bit of a pussy. And I think that because he's got the ribs and the eye and he just doesn't feel like
Severe case of vaginitis.
Stop being a wuss and put on your big boy pants. You know what I'm saying? LeRon McClain's got 3 touchdowns on the year. He totes the ball at a 4-yard average, and he's a fullback. So I think that as he continues to do his thing, he could edge Willis McGahee out. And to me, McGahee's a little bit of an attitude cancer for this team.
Yeah, Zach mentioned Chris Johnson. I think he's a guy you can rely on here. He is the big play threat, and we really haven't seen a big play from him yet. That long 55, 65, 75-yard touchdown against a stingy D like that, I could see him maybe popping for a long play. This guy's 7th in the league in rushing yards as a rookie.
And not only that, I mean, even in the game against the Vikings, he was getting some goal line carries. I mean, carries down inside the 5-yard line.
Right, pitches.
Yeah, exactly.
He's real fast. Kansas City traveling to Baltimore. The Chiefs were just a huge upset last week. Makes it very tough for fantasy owners or people out there picking the games in Vegas when a Chiefs team that's looked completely diseased plays against a Broncos team that was setting the world on fire, Jeff, and the Chiefs come out with the W?
Well, and they did it behind Larry Johnson in his old style grind it out to the tune of 198 yards. I was really impressed to see what he was able to do in that game. Now, when they play against Carolina, it's going to be a similar story.
Did I say Baltimore?
It's no big deal, bro. I think that Larry's going to get things going on the ground again, although you're going to be, definitely not expecting 198 again.
Nope.
More like about 100 yards, but I do think he's a lock to get in the end zone here. The game's going to be fairly close. These are the matchups that I wrote, and it's something I like to do. So stop interrupting and learn something.
All right.
So play Larry Johnson as you normally would, but I do think that the Chiefs are going to have a hard time winning this game. This is on the road. They're not nearly as good of a team as they are at Arrowhead, and I do like their passing game. I like Dwayne Bowe a lot. Oh, and one more thing real quick. Tony Gonzalez needs just 3 yards to become the NFL's all-time leading tight end yardage-wise. So I think that's going to happen early, possibly even a 3-yard touchdown.
And they asked Sterling Sharp about that, and he just said, and
then Chris Berman goes,
right.
Kicked it over to Shishan.
Yeah, there we go. We like to have a little fun here on the web-only segment, as you can tell. And I think that this is going to be a very fun matchup for Steve Smith. He got off last week. He had a 50-plus yard touchdown, which is what he has wanted to do over the course of his career. He's the big play guy. And coming in against a Kansas City defense that, other than last week, didn't play terribly. So far this season, they've been pretty diseased. I like Steve Smith in this matchup, Zach. I think he scores big for fantasy owners.
He has the potential to have a huge game, one of those 180 and 2-3 touchdown games.
Right.
You got to think he's going to have at least 100 yards and at least one score. Kansas City's secondary is young. They're inexperienced. I think Brandon Flowers will probably be on most of the game.
And he's
going to torch him.
Second-round rookie from Wisconsin. Yep. He's a good player, but nothing where
a little undersized too.
Where Steve Smith is going to need.
He's just too quick. He's just too quick.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
They really have nobody to match his athletic ability on the edge like that. So he's going to be going off real well. Last week we saw Musha Muhammad. He had a great game. Don't expect that again.
Right.
To me, I think that the ground game is going to take over here. I love Jonathan Stewart in this matchup, and I do think that D'Angelo Williams makes a sneaky play for your bye stretch. He's going to be able to get around the outside, and although I like Kansas City's linebacking core, they can't really match his shiftiness, I don't think.
Right. D'Angelo Williams is being called out by his coaches right now, too, guys. He knows that he's still the starter at this point, but if he continues to keep getting outplayed by the rookie Stewart, that he's going to find himself on the bench. So I like your take there, Jeff. I think he could pop for a big play here. Chicago traveling to Detroit. The Lions have been shaking some things up. They've finally gotten rid of Matt Millen, and they're looking to get back on the field for the first time since that's happened. Do you think this is going to inspire this squad, Jeff, or are they still just?
Well, because they're coming off a bye, they finally got some kind of positivity going in the running game before they went on bye, and they do host this game. The team's going to be up big because it's a divisional matchup, and I'm actually going to go with Detroit to win this game.
Wow.
I do think they're going to come away with the victory. I do like Rudy Johnson. I don't think he's going to be as good in this game as he will down the road, but they've given him the starting nod. He's the number one guy, and I think that he'll pay dividends because he just saw, in Cincinnati, his job taken from him. Then he was jobless all of a sudden.
Right.
And right now in this country, that ain't cool.
Right.
So he feels lucky that he got this job in Detroit. Now he's a starter again, and he's finally running with passion. Sean Alexander needs to take note here because he's not got a job right now. Rudy Johnson does. Rudy Johnson running with passion.
Chicago is a team that looked pretty good last week, beating the Eagles at home, defending that home turf. They've always been a very proud squad, that defense led by Brian Urlacher, but their offense is really has taken some steps forward under Kyle Orton, which, I just said that, taking some steps forward under Kyle Orton. Orton looked pretty composed again last week, Zach, threw a nice touchdown to Greg Olsen, their tight end, who, if Greg Olsen's out there on your waiver wire, he's a nice guy to add in your league. But when Chicago has the ball, it's really all about Matt Forte, a rookie I know you've been real impressed with.
Absolutely. I'm very impressed with Matt Forte. And even last week against the Eagles, he found the running hard. But he got some key first downs at the end of the game when he wore down their defense a little bit. He's a really hard runner. And the thing that's nice about him, he's great out of the backfield. So if anything, is he can get some catches. He's very involved in this offense. And then, like you said, Kyle Orton, he's looked really solid. He's not making a lot of mistakes. He's not going to give you the big plays that maybe Rex Grossman brought back in the day. But he's going to be efficient. He's going to make the first down throws that he needs to make. And he's going to keep their defense off the field and keep them healthy, because when their defense is in there, they've been dominating much like they did 2 years ago. So
really quick, I just want to, you and I have gone a little bit back and forth about Matt Forte. Now, so my question is, right now he's in the top 10 as a producing running back. Do you feel like he's going to stay in the top 10 as the season progresses, or will he fall out? Right now he's at number 8.
Just fantasy-wise, I think he can maintain top 10 just because he's one of those guys. He's involved in every play on that offense. He never leaves in third down. He's always in there. And like I said, he's a great pass catcher out of the backfield. And not only that, he's a phenomenal blocker. Some of those chip blocks he made in that Philadelphia game were just blocks you don't see rookie running backs make. So,
especially for a rookie.
And that's really impressing his coaches, and the coaches don't want to take him out.
I think he lacks the high ceiling that we're seeing from guys like Adrian Peterson and the really elite backs.
Solid,
But he's one of these guys that's going to get you 120 and a touchdown or two every week. And if he gets shut down in the running game, he's going to catch the ball 5-6 times.
Does he have 2 touchdown potential? Because that's one thing I really look at. 1 on the season so far. If he is going to do it, it's going to be this game.
This game's important.
Could he triple that total?
Yeah. And this is one of those
he
games
where twice in this game.
Yeah, where he's expected to do real well because Detroit struggles on defense. So this is one of those games where people are looking at him, hoping he's going to have a big game, and he should have a big game. So that's what we expect out of him.
Tampa going to Mile High to face up with the Broncos, coming off of a bad loss last week to the previously totally defeated and dejected Kansas City Chiefs. Now the Broncos, they're going to be looking to get back in their winning ways, and they're going to be, of course, led by their quarterback, young guy who's been really popping off this season. If you had the foresight to pick up Jay Cutler, you probably had him as your number 2 quarterback in most situations, and he might be outperforming your number 1. You got to think that he's going to be a great play here against Tampa, Jeff.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup here. Tampa Bay is coming off 2 big-time victories. They won on the road at Chicago, not an easy feat. Then they also came home and then just beat the Packers, another tough thing for them to do. So I do think that they're riding a little high right now, and as they go into Mile High, to me it has the feeling of a letdown from the Buccaneers. And I do get the sense that in the Rocky Mountains there's going to be a nice chill in the air, which those guys from the beach don't like so much.
Right.
And so I definitely think that the Broncos will get things going.
Me too.
I'm not real high on the rushing game from the Broncos, but I do like both the wide receivers and Scheffler.
How about Tampa Bay here, Zach? We've seen Ernest Graham have pretty good success running late in the ball games, but 2 times he's been salvaged. His stat line has been salvaged by a 60-plus yard run late in the 4th quarter and a cheap touchdown. He plays against the Denver rush D that is susceptible. Should fantasy owners be leaning on Ernest Graham and his 5.9 yard per carry average?
I think the biggest thing with them is he's being underused. They're not giving him the ball enough early or getting him into the flow of the game. He's not, and like you said, he's not producing until the 4th quarter, but we don't really know how well he could really produce if he was given the whole share of carries throughout the entire game and getting him going right away. Seems like when they get in their games, they just start relying on Brian Greasy in the receiving game right away. So I think he's going to have a solid game. I expect him to get a few more carries in the 1st and 2nd quarter, more than he has in the past, because they know they got to keep Denver's offense out the field. They can't have Jay Cutler out there hitting Marshall and Eddie Royal for touchdowns all game. So
the thing I like about Ernest Graham is that he's multi-talented. He's surprisingly good out of the passing game,
and he's quick.
And they're going to need to get it going. I mean, I do think that Tampa Bay is going to be able to throw the ball here.
Yeah, me too.
Denver, for whatever reason, they've got some great talent in the secondary. Still allowing 276 through the air. They've given up 7 touchdowns on the season.
They're 31 against the pass.
Greasy is a pretty good start here, in fact, and you can roll him out there and expect him to probably throw 2. I would expect him to be one of the 2 tight ends they have. Both those guys are too inconsistent to trust.
Right.
Jeremy Stevens and Alex Smith. And then it's going to be one of the 2 wide receivers, either Ike Hilliard or Antonio Bryant, getting the touchdown.
Right. Not Joey Galloway.
I do like the bomb. Joey Galloway is injured.
Right, exactly.
And if you look at my writers page, I mentioned that this game might be one of the most entertaining games of the day. It's fantasy purpose or just pure entertainment, because I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game and just a lot of action going on. I think there's going to be a lot of guys scoring. And could be the game of the day to watch.
And John Gruden's going to want to perform well against a former foe because he did make his bones and was probably Al Davis's best coach ever, or at least since John Madden in Oakland. So I think that John Gruden's going to have his boys ready. They're riding real high off those 2 victories, so they're going to come in with a lot of momentum.
And the final matchup of the week is going to be Atlanta. The Falcons traveling to Green Bay to face up with the Packers at Lambeau Field. Now the Packers, the big news for them this week is their young quarterback Aaron Rodgers dealing with the shoulder grizzle. He was injured in last week's game, came out, gave way to some diseased backup, not Brian Brom. Matt Flynn.
He's also a rookie.
They're both
so
rookies.
if Rodgers can't go, and I suspect that he'll go, but if he can't,
the news today was that he's not going to go.
That was says he wants to. His coach is saying
right.
A lot of that to me might be coach speak. I can see them trying to lure. I mean, they're kind of in a must-win situation. Coming off of 2 back-to-back losses, I could see Mike McCarthy pulling out all the strings right now and trying to pull the wool over John Gruden's eyes, or I'm sorry, the Atlanta Falcons' eyes as he gets his quarterback ready. But it's too bad for them, and it's got to just rub salt in the wound to see Brett Favre, who's the best quarterback in the NFL. We love that guy.
Didn't he throw
6 touchdowns last year?
6 TDs.
That's 6.
You know what it was? Did you see his jersey that he was wearing, boys? His jersey looked oddly like a throwback Packers jersey.
Just a dark green.
Yeah,
It
dark
had the Packer
green.
green in it.
It had the Packer green in it, and he was lighting it up. So I mean, this week if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, you know Favre's going to be chilling on his couch, just smiling from ear to ear, watching the Packers lose with Matt Flynn.
Well, he gets his hair dyed, putting on his Wranglers.
Exactly, getting ready to go shoot a Viagra commercial probably. No, but the Atlanta Falcons are a team that's really turned it around this year. They have notched a couple more wins than they had at this point last season. They're really building a solid squad, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Michael Turner leads the league with 5 rushing touchdowns. He's a boom or bust guy, Jeff. We've seen that so far with him through 4 weeks. When he's good, he's phenomenal. When he's not, he's very ordinary. Will he be phenomenal or will he be ordinary?
I mean, I'm not in their practices, watching what they got going on for scheming. But, when you think about it on a psychological level, the Packers are going to be thinking defensively that if we can stop Michael Turner in this rushing game, Matt Ryan doesn't have enough in the tank to beat us.
Right.
And they're in a must-win situation. So I guess I would say if Michael Turner's an on-again, off-again kind of guy, he was pretty much just on again. And actually, no, he was kind of down.
Yeah.
Tough call. I don't think he does it this week.
Yeah, basically so far for him, he's either been over 200 yards and 1 or over 200 yards and 2 the first week, and then he was off in week 2, and then in week 3 he was over 103. Then last week he was diseased again.
He could get in the end zone again here. I wouldn't be surprised. They're going to muster some offense. And if I understand right, Al Harris isn't going to be playing in this game, so they're down their top secondary target. And so I would expect that Roddy White will be open.
Roddy White's the guy I like the most here in this matchup. I think Roddy White could exploit a questionable secondary. They might not have Nick Harris either.
This could be one of the ugliest games of the whole week. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, I mean, you got to realistically think about benching Greg Jennings and benching Donald Driver, and I already think you should bail out on Ryan Grant. You know what I'm saying? So
if Aaron Rodgers
really,
doesn't play, there's
you got to watch and see what's going on, because with Rodgers, that shoulder isn't quite right, and it's awesome to see.
Well, thank you for coming on to the website. Before you leave, make sure you take full advantage of all the different bells and whistles we've installed here at testosteronesports.com for you. Click on our pictures along the top of the page. Those are our writers' pages. We each rank the individual players. We each have a blog going on there. You can send us an email through the feedback piece on the homepage of the website. There's so much here to do, so just come back regularly, tell your friends about it, and if you're a true diehard junkie, buy a friggin' t-shirt, would you please? We need to sell these damn t-shirts. We're not selling as many as we need to. These t-shirts basically are piled up in the back of Jeff's car, and we're waiting for.
Oh no, I got to put away in my house now. Everything's nice. Good. One other thing to take note of is when you check out our writer pages, you can see that we've started to develop a nice tight race in the Pick'em Challenge standings. I think it's a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
Is it the 3 men on this panel?
No.
Sadly, I'm a 2.
Me and you and Yeast here are all 3-way tied.
Well,
I took a digger last week. I had a lead, but I took a digger.
On a personal note, I started off a little bit slow, and then I kind of focused a little bit, and now I'm rolling in the last couple weeks. So I'll look to try to keep that positivity flowing. And of course, now I said something, so maybe I jinxed it. This is just on the web.
And of course, you guys can come check out and see how you compare to us.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also make all of your picks on the web as well through our Pick'em Challenge. Just go ahead and click on the picks. You have to be logged in order to do it. But there again, you can set it up for free, so there's really no reason not to take full advantage of our awesome site. Come back early, come back often, tell all your friends. And as always, thank you very much for stopping by. We'll see you next time.
I got one junkie on the chat room who won't tell anybody about our show or site.
Why?
Because he thinks
it's his best kept secret.